Studio this morning. Now, as Parliament was wrapping up business just before the general election, a couple of weeks to the general election, I spoke to several parliamentarians who've been there for several terms, including Aidan Duale, Kanini Kega, who is now out, and despite them, the two being from two different sides of the political divide, they seemed to agree that for you to perform at your peak, at your optimum in the National Assembly, you need some experience. And so they were making the case for the re-election of members of Parliament to the National Assembly. I don't know, is there a case to be made for that experience? I'll start with you, Caroline.
I actually disagree with that assertion, because even they, when they became MPs, where do you go to get experience to become an MP if you don't just throw yourself in there and become an MP? For women, what you're seeing is that either they get nominated or they begin their political careers as women's reps, and then once they gather that courage, they seem to go up, you know. But I totally disagree. Even they at one point were greenhorns and they got in there. In fact, I am actually a proponent of new MPs just getting elected or nominated and getting in there and just getting the experience on the job. This is one of those jobs you get experience on the job. And I think the more you sit in Parliament, gathering that so-called experience, the more mediocre people tend to become. And we've seen some of these mediocre, non-performing MPs serving, you know, maybe one term, even some with 3-4 terms, getting ejected because they get entitled and they feel as though the more they stay there, the more that seat belongs to them. And at the end of the day, the people are saying these seats belong to us, and we are the ones with the power to give you that mandate to put you there or to remove you. So I completely disagree that you need experience. This is something you can learn on the job, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Prof, do you agree? And also on the issue of age, Dennis talks about the youth in Nandi, the youthful legislators in Nandi, for instance. Do you think having these young people in Parliament provides some much needed impetus, a fire, lights a fire underneath the quote-unquote old guard?
Yes, thanks, Olive, for that, and Carol, because I want to echo those sentiments. Yeah, because the question you must ask when it comes to representation in Kenya is experience in what? What exactly do members of Parliament do? They're actually meant to do policy, they're meant to legislate, they're meant to do oversight. These so-called experienced MPs, what's their record in those areas that we're talking about? In terms of legislating, in terms of oversight, and even in terms of development of policy. Some of these characters don't even appear in Parliament. So I think this whole narrative of experience is a red herring to exclude competition. I think as long as you've got basic education requirements, you can actually do the job. In fact, experience is not one of the requirements, either in the Constitution or even in general practice, you know, to actually get into Parliament. And for that particular reason, shifting quite quickly to the youths should not allow themselves to be cheated, that there's something special that the old people have. In fact, what the old people have is what we call bad experience. They've spent a lot of time there, and they've caused all this problem. For example, many of these so-called MPs that seem to perform, it is because they're spending a lot of time on CDF, which in fact has been declared unconstitutional. While the core mandate, which is actually, you know, those issues I've actually highlighted, goes totally unattended. Yes, and when you look at the core of it, representation of the people, what does representation mean, actually, in these sort of spaces? Yes, so it is time that we sent this message that basically, as long as you meet those particular constitutional thresholds, you can do the job. And many have actually done it before. And the reason why a lot of these people are being kicked out in the first instance is because they're extremely mediocre and they hide on things like, you know, party affiliation. They hide on things like, you know, supporting some kingpins here and there. They hide on, you know, fuzzy things like experience and so on. And it's a pity that some, together with bribing voters, have been able to come back. So Nandi definitely is the direction we should be going in this country, really. And not just at MC and MP level. We are very happy. But I believe very soon, if you continue the way we are continuing, it'll be fresh to actually have a president in his 30s. Why not? Yeah.
All right. And let me bring in Sam at this point.